Welcome back, true believers and all you spectacular Spidey fans, to another very exciting Marvel Spider-Man Miles Morales related video, once again analyzing the overall financial data that the game has garnered ever since its main launch up until now. And if you are unaware, I have done previous videos on other reports that have occurred in the past reporting on the continuous progress of Miles Morales' financial data, which has increased steadily over the past few months. So if you do want to watch those videos, I will leave them as links in the description below. But for this video, this is actually a major statistic that has been recently updated to Miles Morales' financial earnings relating to both PlayStation 4, but specifically for PlayStation 5. And yes, if you are unaware, Miles Morales did release as a fully cross-generation game, both on the PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5 back on November 12th of 2020. And currently, at the time of this recording of this video, it is April 16th of 2021, meaning that the game has only been out in the general public for less than half of a full year, not even an entire half of a year yet, and Miles has seen massive success among statistic charts with financial earnings, and seeing how it keeps growing and growing even bigger and better with consumers, especially for consumers who are getting PlayStation 5s and buying the game on their new next generation console. Specifically for the character of Miles Morales, a relatively more obscure character in the comics who isn't even a full decade old yet within the Marvel lore, and seeing this overall amount of passion and just love for the character be shared across the community with this game is just a wonderful sight to see. But basically, for today's overall news, we do have a financial report earning coming from the MPD Group, who, if you don't know, loves to report on financial data from games and how they're doing across the general market. And one of the latest updates that did occur for these data charts is, of course, relating to our boy with Marvel's Spider-Man Miles Morales. And to summarize the entirety of the news in a really well-articulated manner, I am going to read off of a brand new Push Square article, which does describe Marvel's Spider-Man Miles Morales has already fully outsold The Last of Us Part 2 and Ghost of Tsushima in the United States. And it's crazy to say that because both of those titles do come from extremely talented developers of both Naughty Dog and Sucker Punch Productions. And seeing that Miles has completely overlapped both of those games in a couple of months alone is just insane to say the least. And to read the article directly, superhero spin-off Marvel's Spider-Man Miles Morales has already outsold PlayStation 4 juggernauts The Last of Us Part 2 and Ghost of Tsushima in the United States, despite launching in mid-November. Now, for both of those games respectively, Naughty Dog's survival horror sequel released back in June of 2020, while Sucker Punch's historical open world deployed in July of 2020. And as I previously mentioned, it is worth noting that Insomniac Games Sandbox fully released on two platforms of both the PlayStation 5 and PlayStation 4, which in turn makes it more available for general consumers, especially taking those in consideration like myself who currently do not own a PlayStation 5. But regardless, the NPD data pegs Miles Morales as the 5th best-selling game from the past 12 months, while The Last of Us Part 2 and Ghost of Tsushima are locked in 7th and 8th place respectively. The chart is ordered based on dollar sales, and Spider-Man has 2 SKUs available priced at $49.99 USD for the Standard Edition and $69.99 USD for the Ultimate Edition, which does feature Marvel's Spider-Man Remastered. Whereas the other two titles of Last of Us Part 2 and Ghost of Tsushima are both respectively priced at $59.99 USD. Now, considering how successful both The Last of Us Part 2 and Ghost of Tsushima undoubtedly were, this is quite an eye-opening result for our friendly neighborhood wall crawler. The data takes into account both physical and digital sales, so it paints an accurate picture for the United States at the very least. And to wrap up the article with a very satisfying statement, obviously, the sales of Miles Morales are boosted by its association with the PlayStation 5. But look, that inevitable Marvel's Spider-Man 2 is shaping up to be one of Sony's biggest games of all time, isn't it? And with no surprise coming from me whatsoever, I completely agree with the final statement of this article. Not only is it a great sign to see Miles prosper financially and critically amongst fans and general consumers, but seeing how well it is doing with its overall sales, it undoubtedly confirms that no matter what, given how well the game was received both for the main game, Marvel's Spider-Man Remastered, and with the newest release of Marvel's Spider-Man Miles Morales, a full-on Marvel's Spider-Man 2 sequel continuing on the journey with Peter Parker and, of course, the other main characters like Norman Osborn potentially becoming Green Goblin, Harry Osborn potentially becoming Venom, and so on and so forth, is surely going to happen one way or another. And whether or not that ends up releasing either in 2022 or 2023 is still something that we'll have to wait and see on, especially given the current circumstances of COVID halting production for certain AAA blockbuster video games. But I do think it's safe to say that the question of whether or not the sequel will happen is more of a when instead of an if. And just to reiterate one more time about the current perspective of the financial sales for both Spider-Man PS4 and recently released Marvel's Spider-Man Miles Morales on both consoles, is that Spider-Man PS4 has officially sold over 20 million copies worldwide as the end of 2020 arrived, meaning that that number has probably increased currently as of now in 2021, currently for the PlayStation 4 version of Marvel's Spider-Man. Not Marvel's Spider-Man Remastered, just the base game on PlayStation 4. And I'm sure Marvel's Spider-Man Miles Morales is selling relatively well on the current gen platform of the PS4 as well, but it was shown that out of all the consumers' financial grossing and earnings that they do want to spend their money on for Marvel's Spider-Man Miles Morales, it is actually statistically proven that the game is selling better on PlayStation 5 instead of PlayStation 4, meaning that the general market of consumers do want to wait to play the game until they receive their next-gen consoles. Or if you're still having trouble getting one like myself, you may want to do the free upgrade of, if you have played the game on PlayStation 4, you can then fully upgrade for free onto the PlayStation 5. But regardless, it's still doing incredibly well amongst the general market, specifically for the realm of next-gen, which again fully solidifies my point that I think we all have in our heads right now, that we can just kind of coherently agree with, is that whenever Marvel's Spider-Man 2, the official sequel to Spider-Man PS4, ends up releasing, that will most likely be a full-on PlayStation 5 exclusive. Not a cross-gen game like what Miles Morales was, but actually a title that can fully push the boundaries of where next-gen can go with the character of Spider-Man into a fully PlayStation 5 exclusive territory, similar to what Marvel's Spider-Man Remastered was, but again, that was a remaster of a game that already runs fully on a previous console. But once we do see the actual technical prowess that Insomniac can pull off with a full-on PlayStation 5 exclusive like what Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart is shaping up to be, that in turn is going to get people even more excited for what the future potential has in store for the official Spider-Man sequel. And even though I currently don't even have a PlayStation 5 yet, I still want Insomniac / Marvel / Sony to make the official Spider-Man sequel only on PlayStation 5. That way we can get the best possible Spider-Man gaming experience, hopefully, of all time. Maybe it could surpass even the first game and Miles Morales consecutively. And if it does manage to deliver on all those fronts and more, from a visual perspective, gameplay perspective, narrative perspective, and of course financial perspective, if it ends up selling just as well, if not better, than both of Spider-Man PS4 and Miles Morales combined, that would be absolutely insane. We still have no current updates as to when the sequel could happen, when we could even get an announcement for the sequel, maybe sometime around E3 during a Sony State of Play presentation. Who knows? But just seeing how much Miles is thriving amongst fans, critics, and just the general community of the Spider fan base alike, it is just a wonderful time to be a fan of this character and see representation just be delivered on such an immense level within the gaming industry, more so than the films, the comics, TV shows, but also mainly in the world of games. I think Miles Morales is a beautiful character that definitely deserves respect, and this game has done him incredibly well and delivered justice to the character of Spider-Man and Miles Morales as a whole. But with all that said, everyone, that is the video that I have for you today. Let me know all your thoughts in the comment section down below. What do you think about this recent news relating to Marvel's Spider-Man Miles Morales outselling both Ghost of Tsushima and The Last of Us Part 2? Do you think it might reach the potential sales numbers of what Spider-Man PS4 has earned, with over 20 million copies sold worldwide, making it an official billion-dollar property for Spider-Man within the gaming realm? Is insane to see, and if Miles can possibly reach that front too, that would just be absolutely crazy. But until next time, everyone, thank you all so much for watching. Feel free to leave a like on the video and subscribe to the channel if you did enjoy. It would definitely show your support and it would mean the world to me. Stay tuned for more videos like this in the future. I do have a couple more intriguing ones coming relatively soon. But until next time, everyone, thank you all so much for watching. Stay spectacular, Spidey fans, and peace out.